All right. Good morning, my friends. It is Friday, November 3rd, 2023. I did make it out to New York now, so I'm on Eastern time finally. It's kind of nice to get up a little later. Although, relative to the time I get up in Vegas, it's basically the same exact time for my body, which is great. Anyway, let's go ahead and get in for today, November 3rd, 2023. Obviously was not here yesterday because I was on the road. So let's do a really quick review of what we wanted to do back 2 days ago and then see what happened ever since then so we could get into our review for this morning. So here's yesterday. Obviously, we're in a nice bullish rally. And, what can I say? We've been talking about this potential rally for ever since we made the low, right? So let's go back to the first. Okay, and look at what we had to say here on our plans of action. So we had bulls remaining strong, pushing to new highs. Be aware that the bears defended our first bullish task zone, 42.10 to 13, which was also 50% of the previous week. We want to see the bulls carry through and push above that area. Obviously holding below 50% of the previous week wouldn't be good for the bulls, right? So 42.10 to 42.13 was, again, right here. This was the high of the day before, was the area we expected to hold right around 42.13 here. And so we tested and got a double top there the day before yesterday or the day before that. And then as we came into the pre-market on, I want to say it was on Wednesday morning, we said if the bulls could get through that one little area right there around 42.10 to 42.13, which I guess was right here, then that would help confirm the continuation of our bullish case, right? Let me look here and see if there's anything else to mention. We also said not only did we reject from a discrete area in the chart we were expecting, 42.10 to 42.13, but there was also potential daily bearish signals that we're agreeing with an hourly and 4-hour bearish signal from this double top from the day before that led to the pullback in the overnight session. Now we did, and I think I put this in my notes, the market got those two bearish signals, it pulled back in the overnight session, and then we talked about how it held around 50% of the previous day, right? Actually, don't see that in here, but we did end up holding above 50% of the previous day, nearly to the tick there. And I think I mentioned it in our pre-market that morning. And then we were bouncing coming into the open here. The question was, were the bulls going to remain strong and out of the open here, try and rip things through? And like I said, first area we wanted to see the bulls get through was right around 42.10 to 13 here. Basically the high of the day before. So market open. What did we do? We petered out right around 42.13, and we had this level 42.15 on our charts as well. Right to it, chopped around, had trouble, got a little pullback about 30 minutes after the open, and then bam, got the rip. And actually, I am sorry, I have these times wrong. I have to move this to 9:30 since I'm now on a different time zone. So I apologize about that. So let's move that over. So out of the open, it looks like we had already broken out. So forgive me on that. I had this at back 1 hour. And this was 2 days ago now, so I really don't recall the specifics. But so we opened and we were already breaking out. And that must have been what I was talking about at the time. And so we opened and held, pulled back right to the overnight swing right there, right? And basically held it and went for the continuation to the upside. So I apologize about that little mix up there, but we opened, we pulled back, we held the high from the previous swing, and then it was a nice strong push right into our first two expected resistance zones, right? We talked about 42.40, 42.42, and 42.48 half. Okay, those were on our charts there. What was the high of the morning? 42.48 half to the tick. Okay, not surprising we came right in here. And we're rallying, and then just kind of petered out, held our scalping to the tick here for some bounces, and chopped between those two areas, only to pull back, hold the 200, get a nice, healthy pullback right to VWAP. And this was, again, like not yesterday, the day before. And then we just held VWAP, held VWAP. Again, found more trouble right in front of our expected resistance level up top. And then eventually, they do this nearly every time we're in a nice directional move. They'll throw a wrench in the gears here and start ripping everybody up, right? Taking the bears out because they don't get through VWAP, taking the bulls out because they get long, and then it gets swatted right back down. And then the next thing you know, they continue to rally. So they did chop back and forth for all intents and purposes between VWAP and between 42, 48 half there, right? And some really nice discrete holds right off of our scaffolding level, but a total chop fest for about an hour or two. And then finally, we got the breakout. And what do you know? The high of the day, not yesterday, but the day before, 4 ticks from our next scaffolding area. And that's where we get the largest rotation at the end of the day for that pullback. So I still think, even though it was a little bit choppy 2 days ago there, great opportunity to get long out of the open when we pulled back and held the overnight resistance there. And we were above our first contention zone, 42.10 to 42.13. As long as we can stay above there, you should have been able to get long and then take profit in the expected resistance areas. And if you did want to be a bear once we started to sell off, you got your opportunity to short the back end of the 200. There is your textbook retracement of the pullback right into, see that, 38 and the 200 for a great low risk opportunity to capture 10, 20 points to the downside, right to your first expected support area. Okay, so that was yesterday. We got a push, or 2 days ago, got a push to new highs. And then yesterday, I was not here because I was on the road. However, if you've got enough time now, multiple weeks or months, to kind of get an idea of the way I think and the way we trade this strategy, you should have noticed coming into yesterday morning that in the overnight session, we were holding above VWAP, we were holding above the 200 moving average. We were obviously breaking out. All of this stuff was confirming all of our high time frame bullish signals from the low of last week, right? Every single time we got to new highs, we got through 50% of the last week there. That was one of our very important lines in the sand back when I was here 2 days ago. And now look at where we are, right? And actually in the overnight session, the bulls pushed right to the 38 retrace of the sell-off from the high of the year here, right? So we sold all the way off, bounced up, and then in the overnight session came right to that 38 and got this little 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 point pullback. And now we're breaking out here as I speak. Okay, so we're starting to really confirm all of these bullish things down from last week's low. We talked about the potential signal here, not necessarily my favorite daily signal, but it was there. We talked about same thing on the weekly, extrapolating all the way back. We are at a lower low on RVI, but higher low on price. So we do have divergence on the weekly. Daily was there. And remember, with each successive time frame, there was a line in the sand, right? So maybe on the 4 hour, we were looking for them to get through, say maybe that previous swing candle. On the daily, we were looking for them to get through the candlestick high, right? On the weekly, we were looking for the bulls to get through the last weekly high, which was the high of the previous weekly candlestick. So with this push, successively, we got through each line in the sand for our bullish case. And now, as of today, I can say yesterday, we finally broke the high of last week's candle, confirming the potential weekly signal. So we've got a lot of good stuff up top, showing, good stuff for the bulls there. So going into the open yesterday with all the high time frame stuff getting confirmed, seeing that we're holding above our key moving averages, probably should have been a clue for you to try for the long side. And if the bears did bring things down, get down through VWAP, get down through the high the day before, then you might have been getting some clues yourself, even without me here telling you this, that, hey, maybe we're just peaking above yesterday's high in this breakout for a pullback. That could be a possibility, but the market just opened and just continued to rip. So even before the market opened here, just a couple minutes before, you should have been able to see this bullish rally holding off the main moving averages on the way up. And then what do you know, out of the open, interestingly enough, the pullback is right off our scaffolding, pulls back to the FMA, and then we get the continuation, right? Even pulls back right to our swing level we expected to hold and bounced. So continued to break out. We got a nice, surprising, healthy pullback there at some point. Interestingly enough, where do they pull back to? The previous resistance in the chart, and then bounce. Okay, and then let's go ahead and zoom this out. I gotta speed this up. Continue to pull back and hold the previous high of the morning there. Again, not to the tick, but essentially coming back to test that previous resistance. And then we break out. We peter out right at the next major resistance and scaffolding level here, trying to, getting a lot of trouble trying to go. Finally, we break out, and then the high of yesterday, I believe, was our next major support and resistance I gave you guys at 43.2075. So I think the high, and actually I need to zoom out here. No, it kept going. So we came up, this is yesterday, right to our expected next discrete level in the chart for the largest pullback in trouble zone in the midday here, right? And pulls back. They did peak right through this level, but then came right back to it, holding it to the tick on 3 freaking tests, right? And it just blows me away. I mean, we bounce back and forth between this level, which we just put on the chart days before, and our scaffolding and our retracement level here for a nice ping pong back and forth until they finally break out, get through the last major swing, pull back to the 200, and continue on their merry way. All right, and then the end of the day, so it looked like we were basically petering out at this roadmap level, and then finally, the end of the day, they push, and we peter out nearly to the tick at our next major scaffolding and retracement area up here, 43.3675 and 43.36. Again, came right to it for a very obvious short time frame. And guys, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Head and shoulders, right? There's your head. There's your shoulder, there's your head, there's your shoulder, and then there's the pullback. Okay. Now, at the end of the day, they did peek through. They don't make it easy. Sometimes they'll come into a level, just fall right off of it. Other times they'll do something just like that. And in the last couple minutes of the open, or of the regular trading hours of the market there, or extended trading hours, they peaked on through and then kind of went messy, right? So that's the review for the last 2 days. It didn't actually go as long as I expected it to, so that's a good thing. And now coming into this morning, what do you know? So we peter out in the overnight session. It is very messy in here. Interestingly enough, still basically kind of holding VWAP on either side with these tests. But basically pretty sideways in the overnight session. They test right back into the same area that they tested here for a head and shoulders the day before. And now breaking out, right? So tested it literally nearly to the tick, got a pullback. And then here's the news that dropped at 8:30 Eastern here. And then bam, continuation to the upside. Or actually, this must have been last night. And now here we are. Or no, this was this morning. I'm sorry, guys. This morning, right at the news drop there, I believe we had a significant news event pre-market here. Right to the 200, to the tick. And then bam, here we are pushing to where we are coming into the open now. Okay. So, in my opinion, just some unbelievable price action with our levels here throughout the last couple days. You guys should have known before I even left that we had an incredible amount of positive information in the market in terms of the signals that we look at. We all were aware for multiple days now that as long as we could get through 50% of last week, which happened all the way back probably when I did my broadcast on November 1st here, once we broke through 50% of last week, should have been an even stronger confirmation to be getting long. And then as we continued to push and push and push, should have been pretty clear, right? So you've had the heads up for quite a while to be a bull. And ever since we talked about it off this swing back on Friday's low, coming into Monday of this week, you've had an opportunity to buy, get long off a lot of the pullbacks with really limited risk for this breakout that we're getting. We also talked about back on October 31st that this is that Halloween effect, right? Typically from October 31st, think until January, February, March of the year after, you typically have at least a 4% rise in the market. So, historically. So maybe this is the beginning of this major rally. The question is going to be, how far are these bulls really going to get? But hey, anything is possible. So let's go ahead and do our pre-market for this morning.